Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity, your recovery focused podcast with your host, Keegan. Now, if you're any if you've been paying attention at all since the beginning of the podcast, you'll have recognized that it's been 3 years since we've been going on, and I didn't make a celebration episode. You know why? A lot of life has happened since then, and well, a lot of perspectives have changed, and so on and so forth. And it wasn't necessarily the biggest thing, but it still is a big thing. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I wasn't consumed by trying to make a award or whatever for myself, like it's a milestone. Yes, it is a milestone to be celebrated, but it's not one that I felt the need to really exemplify. Is that right word? Right. Anyways, I didn't feel like I had to really put myself out there and say, it's been 3 years. So, I mean, we're doing it now because I was doing a podcast episode with my other friend Melissa Hepner today. And I was like, yeah, that's the first episode was like January 15th, 2023. And she was like, oh, so it's been 3 years. You just passed that mark. And I was like, oh, shit, you're right. I felt pretty bad about it. But at the same time, it just kind of shows that I don't care about how long it's been going in the sense of it doesn't prove a point, I guess, but it also does. I don't have to prove that point to anyone else besides myself. And what that looks like for me is literally just keep going. It's just one step at a time, one breath at a time, a lot of the time. And really just kind of reflecting on what I've learned and how I can apply it to myself, and not so much how can I do something different for the podcast. Like, don't get me wrong, I still want to know how to make it better. I want to know how to improve my speech to the point to where people actually want to listen and share it with others. But we may be a long way from that. I don't know, but I'm just here to be authentic. I'm here to be me. And for the most part, I can do that a lot more now because I've been disowned by my parents, or at least that's what I take it as. And until they find a way to reach me, they have my address. I haven't really said so otherwise. And I've honestly, like I was talking to Melissa about it today, that it was liberating because my whole life I was growing up just trying to make sure that I didn't piss them off because that would mean that I would lose connection that I needed to survive. And whenever you're 3, 4 years old, well, if you get kicked out, well, you can't get kicked out of home at that point, but you could still be reprimanded enough to know that your place is not to speak up, speak out for yourself, so on and so forth. And this is not to, again, drag my parents through the mud. And like I told Melissa, that I was expressing myself. I was letting things be known. And that's kind of the thing because she asked me, like, how much of like my podcast was being listened to by them. And I was like, oh, like they were my mother, Kim. She was especially the biggest supporter at first, always listening and not really so much feedback, but just, oh, yeah, it was good. And it's like, cool. That doesn't help, but appreciate it. And the thing is that she was like, "Oh, so you were having to watch everything you were saying at first, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was." Because even though I'm so far away from home, whenever I'm having my reputation, the idea of me or whatever, possibly be tainted by something that I say and heard later, well, that does make one kind of sit there and go, "Oh, I may not want to say this about this one person because it may really piss them off and hurt their feelings a whole lot and change the relationship altogether." And you know what? It's like, fuck it. Like, if my feelings, my thoughts offend you, like, I'm sorry to a point, but I'm not going to apologize for my existence any longer. And that's what I was doing this whole time growing up. Now, some people may say that I've been doing this or have been outspoken and so on and so forth. And it's like, well, there's layers to it, right? And that's the thing, is that whenever you can really get solid and deep with yourself in a whole lot of different ways, everything else changes too. And that's the thing, is that I always thought that I was like deep with myself, but I was always watching what I was thinking and saying and how I was doing it, so on and so forth, because if I thought it, then I'm guilty of it, and that means that I'm a bad person. Fuck that. What kind of stupid idiocy is that? Now, that's the thing, is that we all have intrusive thoughts. We can have weird thoughts. We can have these things. And by weird, I mean, we can have the thoughts that say, I'm going to go this way and change my fate, you know? But whenever we're told that certain lines of thought are bad, we can beat ourselves up for it and really just not want to go there anymore. And so sorry, I heard something either in my window or upstairs and just threw me off for a second because, as you may know, we have this winter storm coming in. And I mean, it's not freezing right now, but this weekend may be really shitty. If you're in Texas, you probably have come across the people that just cleared out stores and stuff. And I'm sitting here, I did my shopping early this week, but I'm kind of like, I'm actually more hungry than I should be because I've been working out a little bit. I didn't prep very well, so I just gotta sit there and not work out and not eat as much as my body is telling me that I really should. I digress. Uh, but whenever we're sitting here and always watching what we're saying and what we're doing to some regard, some filter, then we just can't grow. We might, but are we really? And I'd like to argue that we won't, because you're not authentic. If you're shaming yourself for anything, then you're not being you. Well, yeah. And not being you means that part of you can't grow. So, like I've said before, I wear black a lot and for many different reasons, but my favorite one is always because I'm in mourning of the person that I could not be whenever I was growing up. But that's also the thing, is that I also just love black and just the style and everything. It just goes with everything. What can I say? And so for me, it's kind of like, interesting. But one of the things that talking to Melissa about for her podcast, Emotionally Unavailable, was that whenever I was 12, 13 years old, that's whenever I discovered witchcraft, paganism, and stuff in the great land of Google and the internet. And I didn't realize that I actually placed a whole lot of my identity in that. And I was like, oh, that would make a lot of sense. Huh. Okay. And I didn't feel safe talking about it around parents, around certain friends, around family members, so on and so forth. And so it was just another one of those things I had to shove away for everyone else's convenience. And I say, fuck that. Like, I'm sorry. If you go to my Podmatch profile, it will say on there, I am a practicing witch and pagan. If that bothers you, then I'm not the host for you. And it's honestly kept some people far away. Some people have done no call, no show. Okay, fine, fuck them. And that's the thing too, is that if you're trying to come on my show and spread God and Christianity bullshit, get the fuck out of here, because that dogma is going to keep a lot of people in their shit. But at the same time, it's not going to necessarily be bad, because some people really need it. Some people need direction. Some people need to be told, hey, try this. And that's okay. And I'm one of those people too. Sometimes I need to be told, like, hey, do this because you've been doing this and it's obviously not working, and you're bashing your head against a wall and it's just going to get you nowhere. But that flavor of life, not for me. Done it, tried it. So if you can relate, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, whatever it is. So also, I do have a little bit of cool news. In the terms of not knowing whatever is going to happen, whenever you want to try something, just fucking try it. That's honestly how the podcast kind of came about. But really, what happened was, Vanessa Cardenas, she had reached out to me after our last interview, and she said that she came across something from Haro and thought that I would be someone that could submit something and so on and so forth and help a reporter out. That's what Haro stands for. I was like, what is Haro? Haro. It's help a reporter out. And you get daily emails and stuff about articles that people are trying to write, and they just need help with it, and like they need excerpts from experts and stuff like that. And so the first time I was like, I'll give it a shot, and nothing ever came of it. But I was like, this is actually going to prove to be kind of cool, because they have different categories and stuff like that, and I can offer some expertise in the podcasting or mental health field, I guess. At this point, like, yeah, why not? And so one came out, and I also thought that it would be kind of cool. It'd be kind of like a challenge, because if I have certain limitations of like, hey, you can only say what you want to say, but in 600 words, go. It's like, oh, that's a challenge. That is something that says, ooh, can you do this? And you're like, you can do this whole explanation, sure, but can you condense it and make it really impactful? 600 words. Like, whoa, that's something that just made me go like, huh, I even if I'm not going to get selected, it's going to be good practice because anything that helps me think outside of my own box is going to help. And so I was like, yeah, we'll go ahead and put this 600 word essay together and about emotional strength, boundaries, and stress regulation. And so 3 paragraphs, about 200 words each, and submitted it. And then what was it? Week two later, I got the notice that hey, they accepted it. And so I had to put in all my information and all that. And I was like, whoa. So in the March edition of Hannah Magazine, you're going to find yours truly in there talking about emotional strength, boundaries, and emotional stress regulation. Sorry. And I thought that that was really cool. So, yay to new doors opening, possibly. Well, not possibly. They're going to open. They already opened. So, see what I mean? I just tried something and boop. Now, that doesn't mean everything's going to be hunky dory okay because, I mean, you graduated high school. Now what? Right? It's like you don't get this $1 billion job that pays for everything after that. It's no, you've done the bare minimum at this point. Now, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to try and apply yourself in some way, shape, and form? But also at the same time, what do you want to do with yourself is really the better way we should be looking at it. How can we not be productive? But what do you want to do? Now, I digress because really it's just something that I didn't think I would ever get to that point either. And why? Because I just didn't think I was ever worth a damn. I didn't ever think that I was worth hearing out. And you can definitely hear that in the early episodes of the podcast. I was very much a I don't know. I think I was also really full of myself. And that's one thing is that whenever you get told like you're doing good and stuff, sometimes it can get to your head. And maybe shit like that got to my head while I was in rehab. Maybe, I don't know, but that's kind of the thing is that that was one of the first times that I was able to express myself in such a way. And people were like, wow, huh, that's deep. Like, that makes me think different. And I was like, maybe I can help something out like that in some way, shape, and form. And my higher power was like, yeah, you're going to start a podcast and you just don't really know it. And I was like, I don't want to do a podcast. I don't know anything about a podcast. What the fuck? I'm not even a fan. And so here we are. It's 3 years later. So it's kind of weird how life just kind of works and goes. But the thing is that we have to at least believe in ourselves a smidgen, like a tiny, 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 tiny bit. And I couldn't do that whenever I was still underneath the belief and emotional feeling of if I'm myself, then my parents are going to disown me. They don't want anything to do with me anymore. And I don't know what to do with that. Well, the worst happened and I'm still alive. So it's kind of like, cool. That's actually like part of me is like, I should feel bad about it. And part of me does feel bad. Part of me does feel like something, but it's not a lot of things that I thought I would feel. So, again, the biggest thing that I'm feeling is liberation because, like, hey, I don't fucking have to really mind what I say, like I do and I don't. Like, I just have to kind of keep it on the mental health and recovery aspect and ta-da. But I mean, there's just so much we can talk about that. And speaking to Melissa today was just crazy because we talked about so many different things and it all stemmed from like my childhood. It was like, tell me a little bit about it. And we just went on and on and on and on and on and kind of wound up to where we're at today. And like, there was a lot there. There was a lot. And I mean, we could have talked for a long, long time. And sorry. And we're going to. And that's awesome thing. We're going to talk again. I want to have her back on my show and so on and so forth because I think the last time I spoke to her, I was still sitting down at my desk. And let me tell you, that is one of those things that has really changed my whole perspective on not everything, but the way that I work, the way that I view myself in a sense, because sitting in a chair is comfortable-ish, maybe, but I like to move, obviously. I like to kind of stand up, move around, and talk with my arms and my hands and get real expressive. And I don't know why I decided to say it like that, but here we are. So it made me feel a little bit more confident, but I didn't even know that then. And at the same time, is that part of me had to sit there and go like, why am I feeling more confident this way? Like, does this even me? Because me isn't confident. Me is shy and not really wanting to talk, because if I talk, I might upset someone. I might rock the boat, and rocking the boat is not good. So we're just not going to. We're just going to let the guests talk and not really do a whole lot. And it's like, yeah, we're changing up how I treat and view myself, and turn that will go out everywhere else. But it all literally started with just one thing, one step. And what that could be, essentially, what would be the catalyst, if I had to say, would be fuck, I don't know. Because there's so many different things that went into my recovery that I don't know if one of them takes precedence over the other, except for the sheer fact that I just started drinking too much. And that's the thing, is that I didn't know why. I didn't know why it made me feel good. I didn't know why it necessarily made all my problems go away. And that was okay by me. Ignorance was bliss. Holy hell, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't want to know what my problems were. I thought I was fine. I would meditate. I'd go and do exercises and like run, play with friends and shit like that. I was fine. I'm doing all the inner work. I'm thinking about everything. I'm meditating. Uh-oh, that was the wrong thing. So maybe that was the thing. I got stuck in my head at such a young age. And again, I remember that shit. And I don't think most people remember being that young. And let me tell you, it's really freaking frustrating, because whenever those are the same thoughts and feelings that have just been running around in the same hamster wheel forever, they dig a really deep rut in both your head and heart, and your body also knows everything that you're trying to essentially tell it ignore. And I can't do that anymore. So here we are. And with that, I mean, we're going to start talking a little bit more about spirituality in some sense, but I'm not going to sit here and push my like spiritual stuff necessarily down the throat. I'm going to just present it and say, this is how it's helped me. This is what I see in it. This is how it works for me, and what I think is kind of the interpretation, my interpretation. And the thing is that interpretations can change. So keep that in mind, and just know that it's okay to have your opinions change. It's okay to be able to say, I thought this way, I got new evidence, and now I'm going to think a slightly different way, maybe even entirely opposite. Who knows? It really just depends on what the subject is and what new information comes to light, and how you perceive said information. Because I was also one of the people that was like, I said this, I believe in this, so I'm going to stay right here no matter what I do. And holy shit, that messed me up pretty good. But that's the thing, is that whenever you think you're doing okay and no one's really telling you you aren't, it's like, I might as well just keep going this way. See what happens. Sometimes you might do well. Sometimes you might just find yourself more lonely and kind of in the dark than it would be if you just said something. Now, again, I had said it before. There are some choice words that I would have liked to have with Kim and Jared, but that's the thing, is that whenever I said those choice words that I wanted to say, it was like whenever I was 15, 16 years old. I'm sure that they think that I said what I wanted to say, but that is not where near the case. Now, at the moment, it's kind of like, do I really want to say something else? And it's like, honestly, no. Like, where it left off was totally fine by me, because it wasn't really my call. And I mean, I don't know if I really would have had the balls to do it in the first place. And that's the thing, is that I just never learned how to stand up to my parents, because I just wanted them to be happy. I wanted them to accept me. I wanted love and affection. Like, is that really so bad to ask for? Apparently, fucking so. So here we are. Anything that I'm going to say is going to offend some people in some way, shape, and form. And to that, I say toodaloo. Now, one of the things that we can say, I can say, we is us. If you don't know that, then go watch some other episodes. I talk about how I talk to myself as in the third form. third essence, because it's like, I'm not going to do this. It's we're going to do that. We're going to go play Kingdom Hearts 3. We're going to go do some meditation at the altar. We're going to do this. We're going to go play. So it's a we thing for me because maybe I was just really lonely growing up. But I also thought it was because I was bad and not good and I didn't deserve shit. So it was a we thing. Like I made a different version of myself to help myself out. And maybe that's what it is. I forgot what I was saying. Sorry. So, oh, hmm. Anyways, whenever it comes to that kind of thing, I mean, sometimes I don't know what is best, you know? And all I have to say is that I don't think there ever is a quote unquote best. I think there's something to do. Is there something wrong to do? There's usually something more incorrect to do than there is right, but really just depends on how I'm trying to look at a situation. If I'm trying to look at it and say, I'm bad if X and I'm good if B, then I want to go with B, right? I want to be good, quote unquote. But who the hell is to say what's good and what's bad in the first place? Now, there are maybe some things that you view as fundamental truths or so on and so forth that are like a line, a boundary, if you will, and you don't want to cross those. That's totally fine. But sometimes we may cross it without even knowing it. And in our perspective, we're still nice and square over it, but we may be looking over it like this. Our toes may not be crossing it, but our head sure is. And it's like, no, I'm not over it. Like, yeah, you are. Get back the fuck up. So, oh, well, I just want to get back to the whole what we've kind of learned in this whole escapade of retrieving sanity because honestly I've learned so much whenever it comes to like video and audio editing. I've learned a lot about how to do social media stuff, how to create thumbnails and covers and work with different editing software for that kind of stuff. I've learned how to do different cold opens, how to change different things here and there. I've learned a whole lot, and most everything has been pretty self-taught. Now there have been some things like Kevin Palmieri, Alan Lazarus, and Amy Lenius. I think that was right, Lenius. I may be mistaken as well. Damn it. I digress. They did the Next Level Podcast University, which was awesome. Thank you again, guys. And it taught me a lot because it's one of those things that if I want to put the podcast as kind of a business form, it I have a blueprint essentially of how to do that kind of stuff. And I also learned that there's other people out there that are trying to help other people do that. And there's just a lot of different things that I could utilize for myself without having to try and make money off of it too, which is kind of the cool thing because in the end, like I don't want to make money off of people just to help them get better, but I want to help people get better without having to do a stupid copier job. Does that make sense? So it's kind of one of those like I'm in a weird little battle of sorts too. I want something that is a creative job. I want to be able to say, oh, I do podcasting for a job and I edit other people's podcasts, so on and so forth. We're not there yet, but maybe we will one day. And that's the thing is that I just have to take one step at a time. I wouldn't have been able to even envision myself doing that had I not started this journey in the first place. So, to anyone out there that is starting a podcast, thinking about starting a podcast, just do it. It's amazing. And if you've started it, congratulations. Even if you are thinking about it, congratulations, because that is a scary step. I know. I've been there. I didn't know what I was going to do. In fact, like this isn't even the first microphone. That's not even the first microphone. That was my third microphone, if I'm not mistaken. And that's just kind of the thing. Hang on. Yeah, that is my third. So unless you count the uh like little lavalier microphones, but I digress. Ugh. Well, never know what we can do until we actually start. And if you're like me and you like to be able to sit there and say, I started something, I'm actually good at it, and I picked it up pretty quick. Cool. run with it. Keep doing it because just a podcast is really hard. Like no one told me that it was going to eat up so much time. But that's the cool thing too is that it eats up so much time that I don't have time to sit there and be upset with certain things. And don't get me wrong, this is not like the escapism kind of thing. It was. It did kind of start in a sense that way. But now I'm definitely going like, okay, we're setting work boundaries, we're doing this and that and another because until I get this to be the primary income flow, whatever, then I have to still have enough backup energy and whatnot for my normal mundane job. And I mean, maybe even not doing podcast stuff, maybe even having a bookshop that's like part witch store or something like that. That'd be awesome. And or just something to help people with their spiritual needs. That would be also awesome. And I just don't know what I can do until I try. But I'm both fear of failure and fear of success. And let me tell you, that's an ugly combination because one tells me I'm not enough, and the other one says if I go somewhere, I'm going to lose everyone anyways. And I can tell you right now that, well, I'm pretty lonely. I got Jordy. Thank you, Jordy, for everything, really. And thank you, and Morgan, Five, Maka, Anu, because I wouldn't be here without him. It's one of those things that sometimes I don't give enough credit where credit is due. And a lot of the podcast early on was definitely about like, oh, listen to what I have to say. And then it got picked up by the radio show, by the radio station. And it was very much oh, I have to go from 15 to 20-minute episodes, maybe to an hour. Holy shit. I was like, what am I going to do? Mind you, I had some interviews at the time. So I was like, that's what we'll do. But the first episode that I had to do, I didn't really want to put an episode out there, the just random interview. I wanted to introduce myself. Did I have to? Probably not. But at the same time, it did kind of get a version of my story out there. Now, if you want to, you can go listen to full force, I think is what I called it. Why? I don't know. I was just desperate to come up with a title because I had to submit it to the radio like that night or something. And it was just, it was weird going from that area of 10 to 15 minutes to an hour. And but it also made me shift focus because it suddenly wasn't just what can I do? And don't get me wrong, there were definitely solo episodes that were an hour long. And I learned a lot then as well. Like I can't do an hour episode in one take, or I can, but I don't think that it's worth it to be 30 minutes in, mess up, and be like, ah, crap, I should have said this back here. So let me go delete that take, dumb idea, and then just restart from the get go. And then like get 10 minutes and be like, oh, I forgot to say this again. Oh, no, restart. Oh, holy crap, that was frustrating. Don't do that. But post production is your friend. Learn to eat the suck up, the suck, but they are not a failure, they're not a waste. And that's the biggest thing is that I didn't know that things that I tried or did different weren't going to be a waste, even if I consider them a failure. They're only a waste if I don't learn from them, if I don't actually take something out of it. And let me tell you, I did waste up a lot of time. I wasted up a lot of everything, but you don't have to do that either if you're trying to get a podcast going and so on and so forth. And I really hope that you actually start off way better than I did. I hope you have a friend or two, or maybe four or five, that are all sitting there and just having a great conversation, stuff like that. And I hope y'all get tons of views and tons of downloads because, I mean, it's really cool whenever you see your first like download and you're like, who the hell was that? And like, someone listened to my stuff? What? And then whenever you hit your first 100, you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then you hit your first 1,000, you're like, this is weird. And that imposter syndrome will start to set in at some point. But you have to remember you're doing this for you, right? Or for other people, right? You're doing it. So just keep doing it. Now, all I can say is that with everything that I have learned, I wish I had known some of it in the past, but had I not learned it the hard way, the lesson definitely wouldn't have stuck. And I wouldn't be here right now because damn, out of 206 episodes, I can say that uh the first 100 you probably shouldn't listen to. Like, don't, no. And then I'm probably going to say the same thing whenever I'm at episode 400 or so. Like, don't listen to the first 200. I don't think they're good, but that's a subjective thing. Now, I will say objectively, the first like 30 episodes or so are not good. Not, and I'm not saying that they're not good. It's just I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know that my microphone could have a lag on it. So whenever I talk, I would suddenly be hearing myself again, and then, oh, that was so terrible. It's not happening right now, mind you, but it used to be I would say something, and then I would have to hold a little bit because I was starting to hear myself, and I was like, how do people do this? Learned the hard way. It's bad audio equipment setups and everything. Don't if that ever happens to you, just take the headphones off after you hear what it sounds like, and then just run with that because just you'll get familiar with it. The microphone is like an extension of yourself eventually. So yeah, and just don't breathe in it too much because a lot of people don't like that. And drink plenty of water. It'll help with your mouth noises, believe it or not. So I mean, I don't know what else I can say besides I've grown a shit ton from doing my own podcast. And the view of why I've done it has changed a couple of times, but it's never not been for other people too. It's just I never included myself in who it was for. Does that make sense? Because I still didn't believe that I was worth a message of saving. I didn't believe that I was worth this, that, and another. And I was just like, I'm just putting out my experiences out there, kind of, sort of. And boy, oh boy, were they still kind of half assed because I was still trying to curate everything I was saying for certain people. Now, those certain people can get butthurt, and that's okay. And I don't have to take care of their emotions. It's not my responsibility. It's really not. If I trigger someone, it's the same thing as if they trigger me. No one should have to sit there and tell me, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to trigger you, dude." It's like, like you didn't know that someone stepped on my foot 10 years ago and punched me in the nose at the same time while calling me something. And it's one of those things that people don't know about certain things. Now, that's not to say that we don't let other people know our boundaries and so on and so forth so that we are treated proper, but it's to say that I'm not trying to offend anyone with what I say. That's just the gist of it. I'm just saying the things that I'm feeling and I'm expressing myself, and it feels fucking good. So, I mean, I don't know where I'd be without the podcast, to be honest. Like, is it part personality, part identity and stuff? Kind of, sort of. I mean, in a sense, but thanks to Melissa, I did realize that my spirituality is a huge aspect to my identity, like way bigger than I thought. And I'm like, the more I think about it, it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've been called I look like a wizard and stuff before. And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. And so that's just the thing, like we, I am who I am, and I'm damn proud of it now. And a lot of people aren't going to be okay with that. And that kind of sucks if I wanted to continue having relationships with them. But even if I didn't cut the cord, they still told me that essentially I'm not welcome there. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to be disrespectful because I express myself, then I'm just going to be damn disrespectful. So sorry, not sorry. And I don't know, with that being said, the world, the universe is full of paradoxes. If you think one way, there's someone that can argue the exact opposite for some weird reason and maybe just as logical or maybe illogical. But that's the thing is that logic and illogic kind of go hand in hand too. You can't have one without the other. And the world is just full of paradoxes. Like it or not, we have to learn how to adapt to them as well as work within them and then try to use them to our favor. But we can't actually do that if we just sit there and try to say it is one way only. we can sit there and say, I can see the duality in things. So I can see why someone's perspective would actually be this way. But at the same time, this is not where I line up because blah, blah. So life is weird. We can go down a lot of rabbit holes. And I'm one of those people that I've had to think about so many different things that there's not a black and white to literally, really, maybe anything. And I've had to come to terms with that, because a lot of stuff is gray for me. I like to think I'm a realist, but I used to definitely be a pessimist. And I've also been the weirdest optimist ever at the same time because even if shitty shit was shitty shit, there was still an unshitty part within that shit. And I was going to find it, damn it. So it was really strange because I hated life and at the same time I loved life and I knew that there was so much more, but it just wasn't where I was, maybe. So if you need to get away from certain people and things, maybe it's not necessarily physical, maybe it's mental, maybe it's spiritual, maybe it's all three. That's kind of the thing is that we don't realize how much we attach ourselves to things in the ether and that can really screw us over, whether we know it or not. And sometimes we intentionally make them, sometimes we don't make those attachments, those cords, if you will. But if you're finding that something is weighing you down and dragging you behind and just trying to steal your peace, ask why you're still carrying it. Because for me, it's always for someone else's sake, it's never really for mine. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So it's like, how much of my life have I actually lived for myself? And I can say right now, the last 5 years, I'm holding my moonstones. Hang on, last 5 years. That's what I can say have been the last 5 years for my life, myself. I have been living my life the last 5 years. Now, I've really stepped into myself back in 2025. Holy shit, it's weird. We're in 2026. But like even 2023, first getting into retrieving sanity out of still kind of fresh out of rehab and stuff. I was still not me. I was still very much a shell of a person because I was still trying to make sure I wasn't rejected. Sober living, if you are a people pleaser, do not do sober living. That is my one take. Like if you have a lot of people pleasing wounds and stuff like that, sober living like Oxford, no, bad idea. It is super toxic for you because you'll figure some stuff out within your house and how it operates and stuff. And if you're trying to still do the people pleasing, you will sacrifice so much of your own well being to make everything else kind of work. And then you may find yourself in the same hole that you were trying to get out of, if not worse. And that's a really shitty thing. Like being so far away from home. And then if I got voted out of this house because I blah, 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 then I was really all alone. And I'm not going to do that. So I had to make myself small and acceptable for literally everyone else again. So that's my 2 cents on that whole situation, and I'm going to have a whole probably 2 3 part episode about uh 3 part episodes, whatever, about Oxford. Now, not Oxford as a whole, my experience in Oxford, specifically chapter 4. Yeah. And it's not to say that the houses were bad because each house is only that, a house. It's the people on the inside that make it up. And I can tell you right now, I did not have the best time there. I know that I didn't do the best while I was there either. I can honestly say that they probably should have voted me out. They probably should have kicked me out in some regards. But that's the thing. Who fucking knows at this point? And I mean, I can sit there and say some things and maybe get some houses in trouble. And I don't really want to do that because a lot of the people that were in that house probably aren't there anymore. I hope not. And I don't want a house to go under just because my past experience is there. I highly doubt it would, but it would definitely raise some scrutiny if any of those people were still in that house. So we're going to really watch what I say whenever it does come to that because I do want to respect that because they still gave me well, the whole the privilege of just living and existing in the space for a while, trying to figure myself out. Now, there's a lot of things I could say on it, but that's why it's going to be reserved for another episode. So this one's just going to be kind of about like where do we go from here? And again, what have I learned? I've learned self-respect, self-love, self-boundaries, boundaries for myself and others, how to treat myself, how to think about myself, how to not think about myself, how to not shame myself, because we all know and hear about forgive yourself. You got to forgive yourself. Give yourself some grace. I'm also saying don't shame yourself. Big one. Don't shame yourself. So it's just I've learned so much. It's impossible to really sit here and conceptualize it in a few words. Now, maybe that is a challenge I have to put myself to. What have I learned in 3 years of podcasting? And I'd still probably miss some things here and there, and that's okay. But what I can say is that I'm just glad that I didn't stop because holy shit, I wanted to stop so many times. You have no idea. I had everything pulled up at one point and mouse on the delete button, just like looking at it, just like, oh, should I do it? Should I do it? I should. No one's listening. No one gives a damn. No one cares. Never did because part of me thought that I've put so much time and energy into this, I'm just going to waste it if I hit delete. Some people would probably say it would have been better off, but there are also the people that are going to just be jealous that I've been going this whole time. And don't get me wrong, it's been hard, it's been rough, but it's also been super fun. And I've learned so much. I've made some amazing connections with some awesome people. And I'm only looking forward to doing it more because I'm not going to stop growing at this point. There's a huge world out there. It's also really, really small. It's really, again, paradoxes, but it's so crazy to think that where I've been, my experiences, although they may be vast and although they may be deep, there's still so much I've not experienced and probably never will, especially in this one lifetime. And I would have used to shame myself saying that I want to experience everything that I can. And now I'm just going to say I'm going to experience what life allows to happen because I'm going to try to manifest some things. If life says, yeah, that's cool, that's aligned, let's make it happen, it'll work. And if it don't, eh, well, maybe next time. And we'll try again. But I mean, it's just one of those things we have to take a step, take a breath, and see where things just kind of go. It's not easy. Never really was. And if it is, that means enjoy it while you can. Definitely enjoy it. And if things are easy, just try to ride that wave and let those around you know how grateful you are for them and how grateful you are for yourself too. And then after that, whenever shit hits the fan again, it's not going to be as sticky and weird, not weird, but odd, peculiar, uh, unfortunate, whatever have you. But that's the thing. A lot of the times we write the story and then we try to act it out. Sometimes we already have the ending wrote and try to make that the thing. And I'm telling you right now, you can change your story at any given moment. Other people are going to try to dictate that for you, and I'll tell them for you, they can go fuck themselves. So it's one of those things that whatever happens is what happens. And we're just going to live life. We're going to be ourselves. And I hope you really find yourself and love yourself as best as you can and just get better at it every day. Because again, we are different with every breath we take. And we can be intentional with it. So, with that being said, I'll see y'all next week. Actually, we got an interview tomorrow with Thomas Wilson. And if weather is permitting, we'll have it happen. So, hopefully, we see you then. If not, we'll see y'all next time we see you. So, I hope you have a wonderful night. Stay safe, stay warm, and don't forget, fuck ice.